Welcome. Yes, it's that time of the year. It's harvest time. Kind of important that the farmers get the harvest in, or a lot of us won't be eating. I don't know about you, but I have a tendency to procrastinate. Any of you procrastinate or stall? There's a great quote from Mark Twain. He says, anyone who grabs a bull by the tail knows five or six more things than someone who doesn't. So think about that. I want to talk to you today about the harvest and about our job as witnessing. I don't like to procrastinate, but yet I do. When I'm facing something that might be hard to do or complicated to figure out, my first instinct is to put it off. However, I have also found that stalling can have an unintended consequence. It can keep me from finding out how simple and fun something is. I hear this all the time from people who decided to take up, say, a musical instrument when they are older, or people who decided, hey, now I've got time to cook, I'm going to try it, and they love it, or those who like to play board games. Have you been procrastinating missionally? Last little while, we've been talking about missional living. In other words, have you been putting off what you hear the preaching constantly reminding you to do every day? Share the love of Jesus, join Jesus on his mission, witness of his love. Are you afraid that it is too hard or maybe too complicated? Well, I have really good news for you. You can stop procrastinating. Living missionally is simple, and chances are you already know most of what you need to know and just didn't realize it. Joining Jesus in his redemptive work of saving lost souls is simple, taking on the simple mindset that Jesus is working on and in people and putting a few simple practices into play as part of our daily life. Learning to think missionally or witness will not require us to absorb a lot of new teaching. It's simpler than we think, not more complicated. After all, the ministry of Jesus originally, think about it, exploded with unschooled, ordinary men. In the end, joining Jesus does not require us to know more than we already do, but maybe to do more with what we already know. What a novel idea. For example, a key aspect of living missionally is loving our neighbors as ourselves. And we talked about that. We don't really need to know more about the teaching, love your neighbor as yourself, in order to love our neighbors. Our challenge is not a lack of knowledge, it's a lack of action. We will see more significant mission happening with our neighbor if we actually love our neighbor than if we merely study more about it. Now, sometimes we study and study, but never really do much with the knowledge that we have learned. Reading so we know what to do is really good. Reading so we can put off doing what we know what we need to do, that's not so good. Sometimes fear can make us feel like we need to know more before we can actually do something. I get that. So we research, that next book or that next article, that next blog, just to make sure we haven't missed something. But what we are really doing, we're stalling. Until we actually do something with our knowledge, we really won't be making a difference in the lives of others. Think about it. Nothing will happen in real lives until we actually do something with what we know. It's not what you know that will change the world. It's what you do with what you know that will change the world. I don't know who said that, but it's cool. Doing mission accelerates our understanding of missions. We learn much more about missional living and learn it much more quickly when we press beyond simply reading about missional practices, and we start putting them into practice in real life. Doing accelerates understanding. Yes, reading is important for new insights. By giving the mindset and practices a try as best we can, even though imperfectly, we learn so much more if we settle for just reading about it. That's what Jesus did with his disciples. Think about it. In Luke chapter 9, Jesus sent his disciples out to preach the kingdom of God. Did Jesus send them out because they already understood a bunch about the kingdom? No, it was only chapter 9. They still had a lot to learn. Jesus didn't send them out because they already had learned so much. He sent them out because they had so much more to learn and understand. Jesus knew that by going and putting his teaching into practice, they will come to a much deeper understanding of what he has already been teaching them. Doing accelerates understanding. Anyone who has grabbed a bull by the tail knows 5 or 6 more things than someone who hasn't. By doing, I learn what to do. By going, I learn where to go. Missional living is new to most of us. Few of us have been intentionally living it. That means we are inexperienced, and that makes us nervous. We know we don't know what we are doing. We are afraid we may do something wrong. So remember, by doing, I learn what to do. By going, I learn where to go. And that's why Jesus tells us to follow him. By joining these witnessing workshops that are coming up, you learn all you need to know to get started. That's right. And that's the key to learning the new mindset and practices. Starting. If you just start as best you can, in spite of your fear of messing up, Jesus will be able to show you so much more than if you just settle for reading about it or listening and learning about it. In other words, stalling. I remind myself, Pastor Brad, Jesus knows you're not very smart and that you procrastinate when you don't know for sure what to do. You're like a lot of people. That keeps me from straying into thinking that I have to do everything perfectly or I will mess stuff up for Jesus. Jesus knows I'm not that smart. He wasn't counting on me being perfect. He was counting on me being me. Just like he was counting on the disciples being who they are, the disciples. And his grace, in his grace, using me in his redemptive mission. I mean, Jesus is very cool that way. It's better to do something imperfectly than to do nothing flawlessly. I don't know who said that either. Remember, we are being Jesus's witnesses. We are joining him on his mission, being his disciples, following him in his work. He's already done the heavy lifting. You are not going out for him. You are going out with him. So let's move from thinking about missions to living missionally. So I want to encourage you to take some time and maybe log in to some of these Zoom meetings that we're going to be having in the next little while. and really thinking about and absorbing what it means to live missionally. And we're going to be learning some practical tips, which you can start practicing in your bubble, your family, your close relationships. And as you practice them there, you'll find maybe opportunity to start reaching out um, in your community and in your neighborhood in a safe way. God bless you, and we will see you soon.